Good day to you. I'm Danilo Evangelista, and welcome to our Tropical Weather Outlook video for today, Friday, July 18th, 2025. Happy Friday. Happy end of the week to you. Today, we're going to go over the potential that seems to be arising now for development in the Atlantic, this time in the MDR, in the tropical Atlantic, for the first time this year. It looks like we're going to have to watch for development coming out of the deep tropics over the next several days. I'll talk about what the models show, and in general, how conditions are looking across the Atlantic right now. So thanks for tuning in today. Let's get started. Starting off with the National Hurricane Center homepage. Nothing on the National Hurricane Center homepage yet. No highlighted areas of interest in the MDR right now. And of course, in the Gulf of Mexico, 93L has died out. It's now moved completely inland over Louisiana and the Deep South, and it is going to continue to bring lots of heavy rain, so please keep that in mind. But in terms of any tropical development for now, nothing on the National Hurricane Center homepage, at least for the next 7 days, but I'll show you that's probably going to change pretty soon. In the Eastern Pacific as well, nothing is expected over the next 7 days, although I have seen some long-range European ensembles hint at potential activity too, so maybe this might change as well, but for now, nothing expected in the Atlantic and the Pacific. And there's also the Central Pacific too, and I've kind of forgotten about this basin for a while. Nothing expected there for the next 7 days as well, but the Central Pacific is kind of now merged with the Eastern Pacific too. This map actually, I completely forgot, but this map actually includes the Central Pacific, so nothing expected from anywhere in the tropics, at least in the foreseeable future. Here's a latest satellite image of the Atlantic right now, and I'm using the NOAA GOES 19 GeoColor map, not the typical tropical tidbits map. Kind of because this map is much higher definition. I mean, it definitely does look very pretty. And some things you notice right now, you could see obviously Invest 93L, which is over Louisiana, still producing lots of heavy rain. The flood threat remains through today and tomorrow through the end of the week. Once again, the flood threat with 93L will be an issue for Louisiana. And then out here in the Eastern Atlantic, you could see not much in the way of any potent tropical waves. There's a few waves in here through the ITCZ, especially as you get further east in the tropical Atlantic. And of course, you have Saharan air, which is still making its way off the coast of Africa and into the tropical Atlantic. So all typically things that you see for the month of July. But let's take a look at the sea surface temperature anomalies. This is quite an interesting surprise. Notice just how warm the tropical Atlantic is, especially compared to a few weeks ago. If you recall, back in May and June, a lot of people were saying that the MDR was not as warm this year as it was in other years, especially compared to last year. And I kept on saying that the MDR, trust me, as we were going to progress through the season, especially into July and August, the MDR was going to warm up very significantly. And indeed it has. Just look at how warm most of the tropical Atlantic, especially the eastern tropical MDR now, looking at the shades, and especially compare that to what the key is here on the bottom. Most of these anomalies are at least a degree Celsius, if not higher, throughout the tropical Atlantic. And I'm showing you this because this is going to play a huge factor into potentially watching the MDR as we head into the next week or so. As I'll show you in a little bit, there are model signals that we might potentially get our first development chance here shortly. And I'll show you the graph as well for the Eastern Atlantic from cyclonic weather. Just look at how much the sea surface temperature anomalies have skyrocketed, especially because this is averaging specifically the Eastern tropical Atlantic, so the Eastern MDR between the islands and Africa. And boy, has it skyrocketed. And in fact, it's even skyrocketed even more in recent days. And according to Danny Morris, he's actually tweeted this yesterday, zonal westerly wind anomalies, so the trade winds experienced during the first half of July 2025 are the strongest during this period going back to 1995. So pretty much what he's saying is the westerly wind anomalies in the tropical Atlantic, meaning weaker trade winds, we've had the strongest since 1995. And if you recall, 1995 was also a very active, it was a hyperactive hurricane season. We had multiple long track storms that year, especially going into August and September. We had Hurricane Lewis, which impacted the Northern Antilles Islands. It was kind of the pre-Irma before Irma. 1995 was a very active year, and we even also had some development closer to home as well. And then he says, he also mentions here in this next tweet, there are a few notable years that experienced significant tropical Atlantic MDR warming in the first half of July. 1999, 2005, although this year probably will not be like a 2005 with 30 named storms. 2008, that's another interesting year that's also come up a lot throughout the year so far, at least in terms of analogs for, predicting, hurricane season forecasts. I've seen a lot of people mention 2008 and, of course, 2017. And it's very interesting that he mentions, so pretty much what he's saying is we've had very strong westerly wind anomalies in the first half of July in the MDR, and it's allowed things to warm up very, very significantly. And he's mentioning it that it's the warmest since 1995. And I've been saying it all along that the MDR was going to warm up, especially as we were going to head into the latter half of June and into July. And all I'm saying is, especially when you have comparisons this year with this kind of warming that we've seen in recent weeks, like Danny Morris is pointing out, to years like 1995, 99, he even mentions 2017. I'm not saying we're going to have a super active season like that, or at least, a super active peak hurricane season, although it's certainly possible. We'll see. But the bottom line that I've been warning about you guys since pretty much April and May, and I've been saying it from time to time, and I've kind of dropped it in recent weeks because we've obviously had a few things to talk about when it comes to actual tropical activity. But I've been warning you that a lot of people, especially a lot of people that I felt like, were doubting the hurricane season, especially in May and June, because the MDR yet wasn't as warm back then. I've been saying that as we were going to get into July, things were going to warm up significantly, and boy, has it done so. Especially here, we pretty much go from the end of June, or the second half of June, we were below normal in sea surface temperature anomalies in the MDR, to now the latest value as of, this is July 16th, but it's probably going to update today, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's even higher. But the latest value in the Eastern Atlantic is 0.4 degrees Celsius above normal, averaging the entire Eastern Atlantic, and that is certainly very, very warm. And as a result, I'm going to show you the models now. It looks like in the coming days, we are finally, as a result of the strong westerly winds that we're seeing in the tropical Atlantic, which is producing and allowing for a lot of this warming to occur, we are likely going to get our first chance for potential deep tropical development here in the Atlantic very shortly. I'm going to show you the GFS as well as a few other models, but first let's go over the GFS. And as you can see here, some tropical wave embedded within the ITCZ here tries to consolidate, especially as we head into the end of this weekend. So this is roughly 2 to 3 days out. And as you can see, it's definitely a very small system that develops. It's definitely not going to be a large, monstrous hurricane. It's still late July, but you can see here some wave from the ITCZ tries to consolidate, clearly breaks off from the ITCZ, and then develops a small, very small, low-level vorticity signature here. And it only lasts for a few days because, once again, it's still the MDR in July. Things are not yet super favorable, but you see here something tries to consolidate, and this is just 3-4 days out. This is not 10 plus days out that the models are trying to show something in the MDR. This is literally the end of this weekend heading into early next week. That definitely looks like an interesting signal of something trying to consolidate in the GFS. And it's not just the GFS that shows it. Here's the 6Z Euro, and it too also has something that tries to consolidate. Kind of comes from this, seems like the ITCZ in here, the Intertropical Convergence Zone, breaking down. And then we have a small little low pressure that tries to consolidate. Euro not as aggressive on it. But they still show it. It's another model that shows something. And then finally, the Canadian, and they're honestly even more aggressive. Look at that. Definitely a signal for probably a wave that tries to consolidate and maybe becomes a weak tropical depression, or maybe even a weak named storm, as we sometimes get in late July here in the MDR. Wouldn't shock me if this does indeed come to pan out. And finally, here are the European ensembles from the 6C model run of the Euro, and this is actually from yesterday. I just noticed this is the This is the July 17th 6C run. Yikes! didn't notice that. But even from yesterday, here's the model run from the European ensembles, and there's definitely a few lows that they show that try to develop, and we even have a few of them that get down into the mid to low 1,000 millibar range. So definitely some development being hinted here in the models. Wouldn't shock me if this does actually indeed become a brief tropical depression, maybe even a weak named storm, and maybe we'll finally get Dexter to be able to cross that name off the list for this hurricane season. Wouldn't shock me. And it's especially interesting because this is our first deep tropical development in the Atlantic, and it's a symptom of things becoming more favorable, as I've said that they would in the Atlantic. And now that we are in late July and heading into August, it definitely means that we're going to start having to watch the tropical Atlantic more closely, and we will definitely be doing that in the coming days and weeks. But for now, we obviously have this thing that we're going to watch in the MDR, and maybe a few other things to watch in the coming days as well that models are also hinting at. But beyond that, not much else to go over, so I'm going to end it off here. Not much else to go over, at least, in the Atlantic and the Pacific. There's probably stuff going on worldwide, but obviously that is not really our concern. With that being said, I'm going to end it off for today. Enjoy the rest of your day. Stay safe. Peace, love, and kindness to you all. Follow me on Twitter and follow me on YouTube. At Twitter and YouTube, Danilo Evangelista. Make sure to follow me on both of those places because I upload these videos daily, and I also upload quite a bit and post quite a few tweets as well throughout the day on Twitter, especially whenever we get interesting developments like this thing that we have here in the MDR that we might need to watch. So please make sure to follow me there as well. Thanks for watching. Enjoy the rest of your day. Peace, love, and kindness to you all. I'll be back with more tomorrow.